Hey, it's Keith from Sports Vibes, and today I'm going to be reviewing an article written by Brian Windhorst from ESPN. And in this article, he's going to touch on some of the financial ramifications in regards to the coronavirus and how it's going to affect the NBA moving forward. Don't forget, if you like the content and you appreciate what we're doing here at Sports Vibes, always remember you can like, comment, and subscribe. All right, with that being said, let's jump right into the article. Okay, so as you can see in the article, there are a few things that really jumped out to me, and I kind of went highlighter crazy. And like I said before, it's a long article, so I won't read everything, but I will touch on some of the key points. So, as the article starts, as they face the reality of a sea of red ink playing in empty or near empty arenas for the 2021 season, some NBA owners are quietly preparing to find cash to weather the storm. Golden State Warriors owner Joe Lacob has informed fellow owners of a deal he's considering with Goldman Sachs to raise up to $250 million to manage coming expenses, sources told ESPN. So when the Rona first hit and I saw all these companies going bankrupt, the first thing I thought about was the Warriors, because as we all know, they just finished building the Chase Center, and I'm sure that cost billions of dollars to build. Well, maybe $1 billion, I don't know if it cost billions, but I'm pretty sure that was expensive. And right now, you know, they aren't really generating any ticket revenue, even though they probably wouldn't, because they wouldn't be in the playoffs. But still, moving forward, I'm pretty sure they're going to have some bills that they're going to have to pay. And the fact that we don't see, you know, the plausibility or the viability of fans in stands anytime soon, I'm not sure what exactly they're going to do in order to make up that lost form of revenue. So when the Rona first hit, the first team I thought about was the Warriors. All right, let's move forward on into the paragraph. All right, the Warriors are an outlier as they derive around 80% of their revenue from Chase Center and can clear more than $5 million for some home games, according to the league and team sources. Many teams earn less than $2 million per home day, and some get less than $1 million on average. But unlike some teams, the Warriors haven't laid off or furloughed any employees. Lacob has already significantly invested in technology and testing methods in an attempt to safely get fans back into Chase Center sometime next season. Like I said, if 80% of your revenue is generated from ticket sales, you're gonna do, you know, everything you can to get fans back in as quickly as possible. So that only makes sense. Okay, getting the fresh injection of capital could help the Warriors maintain their large payroll, which is expected to be above $150 million for the first few seasons. They have 4 players: Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. First of all, I don't even know why they traded for Andrew Wiggins, but that's neither here nor there. And Draymond Green, each scheduled to earn more than $22 million next season. They are assured a top 5 draft pick and have a $17 million trade exception available to use. All right, and I think that trade exception comes from the Wiggins deal, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so here I didn't get as crazy with the highlighter. There were only a few points that jumped out to me. For example, in the first highlighted section, it reads, "I suspect first-round picks will be for sale in this draft," one team executive said. "We haven't really seen that in a decade. The last first-round pick to be sold was in 2013 by the Denver Nuggets, and when the Nuggets sold that to the Jazz, and Jazz picked Rudy Gobert, which is kind of ironic because Rudy Gobert was the first player to get diagnosed with the Rona, so I guess it came full circle. All right. I mean, the fact that people are going to be selling tricks, I think the fact that people are going to be selling picks is going to be beneficial for the Knicks. As a Knicks fan, you know, you would assume the Knicks have endless capital, being in New York City and having the most valuable franchise. So, you know, hopefully James Dolan can make something happen. Well, James Dolan won't be the one doing it, but you know what I mean. Hopefully the GM can make something happen, and you know, maybe we can buy up some picks and start actually building and cultivating a real team from the ground up. But it's the Knicks, so you know, who knows. All right, let's go to page 3. So now page 3, I kind of got crazy with the highlighter again, because this is where they're talking about some of the owners who are negatively affected outside of the actual managing of an NBA team, and this is how their businesses outside may negatively affect what they're able to do in the NBA because their funds are going to be short. So I'm not sure if you guys remember, but back in April, there was a report of Houston Rockets owner, Tillman Fertitta, laying off a bunch of his a lot of his restaurant workers. So this is going to touch on that as well. So in the first line, Houston Rockets owner Tillman Fertitta took out a $300 million loan at more than 10% interest in April to handle the debt service on his hundreds of restaurants, hotels, casinos, and the Rockets, whom he bought for $2.2 billion in 2017. His recent purchase of the Rockets franchise, which he wholly owns at a record price, means he is more leveraged than other owners. Fertitta has said recently in multiple interviews that he doesn't intend to sell any portion of the team to raise money. Brokers have approached him privately, representing bidders who have been told the same, sources said. In July, Fertitta sued the Rockets insurance company, Affiliated FM Insurance, because it denied a $400 million claim of its business interruption insurance after the NBA was halted due to the virus. Other teams are reviewing their policies and considering their own legal options, sources said. I'm also going to skip down a little bit lower because this was information I didn't even know. Owners apparently can leverage off the equity in their business, in their teams. That I had no idea. So this is actually a gem drop by Brian Windhurst. So owners are allowed to borrow $325 million against the equity in their teams, even though some teams have more than $1 billion in equity. That rule has long existed to protect teams from being over-leveraged. A majority of teams, including the Warriors, have already maxed out that credit, sources said. So it seems like the Warriors are really being affected, or at least they're projecting they're going to be really affected by the Rona. And so, as you can see, they've already talked to Goldman Sachs about taking a loan, and they've already taken a loan from the NBA leverage against their equity. So it'll be interesting to see how that franchise moves forward when it comes to player acquisitions and upgrading their roster, upgrading their coaching staff, and they won't have to upgrade their facilities because they already took care of that. So this next part is actually kind of personal to me because I didn't even know this. Indiana Pacers owner Herb Simon has seen his company, mall operator Simon Properties Group, lose more than $25 billion in stock value since January. So before I even read this, I personally have some stock in SPG. They were up in, I think, the 120s before the Rona hit, and after the Rona, they went down to about 50 and some change, like 55, 54, and I kind of jumped in on it. Right now, they're sitting at around 60, 61, and I'm hoping that they'll maybe shoot up once we get past the whole Rona pandemic. I'm hoping that they shoot up back to around the $90 or $100 range, so that they're one of the recovery stocks that I do have in my portfolio. So that was interesting when I saw that because I really had no clue. So for those of you who are into the stock market, you might want to look into SPG. For those New Yorkers, they own the Westchester and White Plains, and I'm not sure which other ones they own, but I'll probably look up and find out for you. And then also, Miami Heat owner Mickey Arison has lost $2.5 billion in net worth since March after his Carnival Cruise Line Corp was shut in. So I also own stock in Carnival. Their ticker is CCL. Them I sold out. I sold maybe about a month ago. They were hit pretty hard by the Rona. I think their stock went down to about $10 or $11 a share, if I'm not mistaken, and they shot up to about 20 right in May, right around May. I should have sold, but I didn't sell, so I waited a little bit, but I think I ended up getting rid of them for about $17 a share. So I made a few pennies on it, can't complain about that, but I probably should have sold a week or two sooner. All right, so that was the second to last page. And in this page, this one they're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're an interesting team. If you remember, the Thunder, they couldn't keep Durant, Westbrook, and Harden together, and they got rid of Harden over $5 million. So you can see that they're kind of cash strapped as it is before that, and with the Rona hitting, who knows what's going to happen. They have that big contract for CP3, so don't be surprised if you see him getting moved. But let's get back into the article. So the highlighted portion, the Oklahoma City Thunder's ownership, led by Clay Bennett, is largely supported by the energy business, which has taken a financial beating in recent months. After Bennett, the largest stakeholders are the estate of Aubrey McClendon, whose shares have been on sale for more than a year, and George Kaiser, a banking and energy magnate who has lost more than $2 billion in net worth since last year. One of its primary sponsors, Chesapeake Energy, filed for bankruptcy in June. That doesn't sound too good. All right, let's get down to the last highlighted portion. All owners, many of whom run hedge funds are in private equity, are impacted in some way by the virus, as markets have fluctuated over the last 5 months. There is also uncertainty about how a deal with the players will pan out. With the current 50-50 revenue split, the players are contractually obligated to share the losses with owners by giving back money from their contracts. So it seems like this article might be the first step in the owners trying to claw back some money from the players. If you've been noticing, if you've been paying attention to the sports markets currently, MLB and the MLBPA, they had their skirmish at the beginning of the MLB season about how they were going to move forward when it came to money and when it came to Rona protocols. Right now, the NFL and the NFLPA, they just agreed to terms when it came to the money and the Rona protocols. So it'll be interesting to see at the conclusion of this bubble scenario how the negotiations are going to go between the NBA and the NBAPA, because a lot of these owners are going to come back and say, hey, we're hurting, we're going to have to take back some money from you guys. And I don't think the players are going to be too keen about that if we go off of what we've noticed from the other unions and what we've noticed from the other leagues. So with that being said, if you have any other comments or if you want to start a dialogue with me, feel free to drop down in the comments. If you like the video, if you like what we're doing here, feel free to subscribe and also like the video. All right? So once again, this is Keith from Sports Vibe. Till we meet again.